Stacy, I think you're muted.
I am because we are starting our live in 2 minutes.
Okay.
So we are actually live right now. We just turned it on early so we could get everybody excited to join us. And so we'll give everybody another minute or so and then we'll be going live.
Sounds
Hi,
good to me.
Regina.
Oh, yay, Regina. Hi. Let's see.
Hi, everyone. It's Stacy with So Steady, and I am live here with Pam Varner. We are going to be jumping into one of our Elevate class bonus classes, and that is where we're showing you one of the designs that's not in the box unless you got the embroidery collection, because if you got the embroidery collection, you got every design. But for the rulers, we are going to be showing off the decorative thread snowflake design today. So, yes, Pam is actually taking that class to the next level because she's doing it with decorative thread, guys. So she's going to walk you through how to create that design on the pillow, or not pillow, the panel. Now, Pam, I believe you had a different color of panel today than what comes in the class kit. Is that right?
I do because, I'm always about the pink, so I thought I would use the pink one.
I love it. And it's very summery. Who doesn't want a little snowflake? You probably do in Arizona, but
Yeah.
snowflakes on pink, that's perfect. So Pam is going to be sharing with you creating the decorative thread designs using the snowflake. There is a class kit, however, and I will post a link to that. And that class kit includes the blue and gray designs that you see in the actual image for this class. And then you get the snowflake templates with it if you so choose. Otherwise, you can just get the class kit instructions walking you through how to create that design. And then, in addition to that, you'll have the embroidery design that's included in the class kit as well as the panel. So, we will go ahead and let Pam take it away. She's going to go ahead and give you guys this amazing education today. So, Pam,
Yes.
show, tell us all about the project and what you're going to be using.
So I'm going to be using decorative thread, and I want to see if I can show you just really quickly how I have it attached to my machine. It's right here. I have a couple of spool pins on my machine. In the needle, I have Invisifil. And then over here, just by itself, I have Dazzle. And I can pull on this, and it loosens the thread up from the spool. And then that way I don't have a spool of thread on my um, table or on my quilt or getting it all twisted or anything like that. So thanks, Danelle, for that idea. If you don't have two spool pins on your machine, you can use a thread stand. You could put it in a coffee cup, just something like that. So that's just kind of my setup. Again, I'm using Invisifil in my needle. I'm using a 60 weight bobbin thread in my bobbin, and then I have the Dazzle for my decorative thread. I have my decorative thread ruler foot on my machine. I have a zigzag stitch set to 1.3 width and a 0 length because we're doing ruler work. And I have my feed dogs up. So those are all the settings that I have. And then this is the panel, this kind of pink and purple. And look at this perfect backing. I just wanted to share that because I thought it was so pretty. I don't even know what it's called, but it's just gorgeous. So it goes perfectly. So I have marked my panel here. There are 4 arrow blocks on this panel, right? So I have gone into the middle, which is where the pink and the blue meet right here. That's the very middle of your panel. And I have marked 8 crosshairs. Now, you really only have to do the diagonals because you already have straight lines in this particular pattern, this quilt pattern that does your north, south, east, and west lines. So you really only have to do the diagonals, but I've done all 8 of them anyway. And we're going to do the exact same design in each quadrant. And let me just tighten this up just a little bit so you can see. And so we are going to get started. And the first thing we want to do is get our decorative thread into our foot. So the way that I do it is I hold my thread tail and I lower my needle to pull up my bobbin thread. That's step number 1. So once I get my bobbin thread up, I can now lower my foot and I want to lower my needle. And then I'm going to raise my needle one more time and try not to move my quilt panel, but if I do, it's okay. I'm going to go with my thread. I hold it in both hands taut. I go down the needle until I get to the bottom, and then I go behind the needle. I then hold the decorative thread behind my foot with one hand. It's kind of a circus act. Lower the needle again, raise the needle and the foot, and when I pull the thread through, the miracle of the decorative thread, it just pops right through. Ta-da! And now there's a loop right here, but if I pull on these threads, I close off that loop. So I do that, and then I lower my foot, and I lower my needle, and I am ready to go. So that looks complicated, but you can rewatch this, and that's how easy it is to pull your thread. So let me just move this a little bit and back up so you can see the full picture. We're going to start with template number 2, which is the smaller. Now, this set comes in 2 templates, and they're both diamonds. I don't know if you can see them, but they're both diamonds. And we're going to start by putting the 5.5-inch key into our snowflake. Okay, so I want to put the snowflake into the foot like so, and I want to make sure that my decorative thread is on top. What I don't want to happen is I don't want to go like this and have my decorative thread be underneath my template. That's not going to work out. So make sure. Now the back thread, that doesn't matter. The first thing I want to do is take a couple of stitches to secure that thread. You don't have to bury your decorative threads. They're really thick because your top thread is going to lock it down into your sandwich. So I'm going to put this key in here for 5.5 inches. And I'm just going to do, I'm going to come like this, line up the template. I'm going to stitch on the right side of the template. In the snowflake template, there's just a little bit of give right here where you can kind of go back and forth. It's not very wide. It's not much wider than the foot, but there is just a little bit of give. So what you want to do is come up on the right side of the foot, or of the template, I'm sorry. And we're kind of holding the thread so that it's going to get stitched down. You don't want your thread to go way behind you. When you get to this turn, you just kind of turn a little bit. Now, at this point, we're making a sharp turn. So I want to secure my thread so that I don't get a rounded decorative thread. I want it to come to a point here. So I'm going to take another stitch. That anchors it down. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but the needle is on the left side of my decorative thread. That's where I want it to be, because then when I turn, it just kind of locks it in there. So that's where you want your needle to be, on the left side. Then I'm going to turn my piece a little bit so that I can stitch down here. Same thing when I get here, I take that extra stitch. Again, the needle's on the left side of the decorative thread. If you take a couple of stitches and you don't really have your thread in the exact place, your needle, it's okay. If you take a couple of stitches and you take like an extra one, so the needle's on the right side, it's okay as long as you've secured it. And then I'm going to come this way. And now I'm going to go on the right side, which is on the opposite side of where we started, right? Because we did right going that direction. Now we're doing right coming towards the center. So my decorative thread is kind of laying like this, right next to each other. And this thread is thin enough that if it was on top of each other, it would be fine. But it's just kind of nice to have it right next to each other. Now I'm going to turn my template and I'm going to come exactly opposite of where I went. What this does is it prevents a bunch of buildup of thread in the center, because you're not going into the center and then coming out into the center and coming out. You're just going straight through the center. Again, on the right hand side, make this little turn here, lock that in place, and then come back down this way. Take that extra stitch, which is actually 2 because it's a zigzag. So you're taking a zig and a zag. And then I'm going to come back down this way. I'm on the wrong side. There we go. Now, while I'm here, I'm actually going to cut my beginning thread, because it is not only did I get it stitched down, but I also went stitched over it. So it is secure there. And now it won't be in my way. Come down to the middle. Now I'm going to go opposite on the diagonal. I don't really need to sew with scissors in my hand. And when you turn like that, you kind of want to make sure that you don't move your template. And if you do, just get it back. So there's a line here on this puzzle piece. Just make sure that's back on your line there. And so now I need to come this way a couple more. There we go. And then come back down this way. My template moved and it wasn't. There we go. In a perfect location. So now I'm going opposite of what I just did. Sometimes they take a lot of extra stitches, but that's okay. It's invisible thread. I've probably said this before, but this invisible thread is amazing. I've used a bunch of different brands of invisible thread, and you know, the stuff from the early 2000s was like fishing line. It was really wiry and wasn't fun to work with, and this stuff is like a dream. Okay, now we're going to go to my diagonal this way. I've done 4 markings. And this invisible thread here can get cut too. I'm going to do that while we're here. Okay. Now now we're here. So I'm going up and back and then over to the next side. I'm going to the left. You could go to the right if you wanted to. Again, when I turn this around, I want to make sure that my template is in the right location, which it is. And now on this one, I'm going to go straight across. And then this is number 6. And now this is the last one on this side, and then this is 7, and we just have a couple more to go before we get to the next step. So as you can tell, this is going really quickly. And when I get this 8 done, I will stop and check for questions real quick. Oops. Keep that puzzle piece in there. So if you're not familiar with the snowflakes, the different keys determine what size the design is going to be. So this stitched out at 5.5 inches, which is what this key is. So that's what it looks like right now. And let me just check and see if there's any questions. Regina, the thread was in the box, the Elevate box, but it's Wonderfil's Dazzle is the thread that I'm using, the decorative thread. And the invisible thread is Invisifil by Wonderfil. So, the invisible thread is in the box. You got 4 spools of thread in your box. You got a pink Metler, you got Invisifil by Wonderfil, you got decorative thread Dazzle by Wonderfil, and you also got Deco Bob, which is a bobbin thread for embroidery, but you could also use it for this. And Okay, I think that's it with the questions. If I missed your question, go ahead and type it in. The threads, covered the threads. Okay. All right, let's go on to the next part. So the next part, we're going to switch and use template number 1, which is bigger. And I have these. You guys probably can't even see them, but the invisible thread is like the thickness of a hair. And I'm just gonna, the reason I can get by with cutting it is because I went back and forth into the middle so many times. Now, this next one, we're gonna use the larger of the templates, and I'm gonna put in the 7.5-inch key. Now, it's not gonna be a 7.5-inch design. It's just a little bit shorter than that. But this way, if I get excited and I stitch too far, it's okay, it'll stop me because we're going to kind of go down like this. So the way that I do it with the decorative thread is I use my spacing gauge, because what I want is I want these stitches to come and be almost on top of these. So let's see, let's move this up a little bit. That looks about perfect. And I don't know if you can tell, this fabric is so light, but past my foot back here is where the 7.5-inch line is. So like I said, it's not as short as 5.5 inches, but it's not as big as 6.5 or 7.5. I'm sorry. So I've used my spacing gauge. I've lined this up. So my stitches are going to come and be almost on top of what I've stitched. It's actually kind of lays right next to it. So here we go. Oh, oops. I'm going to go back a little bit because I forgot we're only doing this on the diagonal. Boy, it's a good thing I caught that. Okay, let's try this again. So this part you only do on the diagonal. You don't do all 8 crosshairs, you just do the diagonal. And let's see, go back a little bit. There we go. Don't want my scissors to go flying. Don't want these templates to go flying. Don't want my puzzle pieces to go flying. Don't want to lose my spacing gauge. There's a lot going on here. You don't have to hold the thread with your hand. You can just lay the thread here. You can put it under your thumb if you want to, and then this way you can hold the template with 2 hands. And then go back to center. And we're going to go across this diagonal. Again, get out our spacing gauge and move the template up until we're a 1/4 inch away from these lines down here. And then we can come back up. This is a pretty quick design to stitch out. And then turn this. Okay. Now we're going to do this diagonal one. Come up here so that we have our 1/4 inch. And then we're going to come this way. And then we're going to come down this way. Now, we have one more diagonal to do. And that's this one. But on this one, I want to remember that I don't go back to center. Because the next step, I'm actually going to start here where this diamond kind of separates there. So just to let you know. It's kind of like having to remember that you want to be on the diagonal and also remembering that you don't want to go all the way to the, that seems a little, but it could be a little closer. There we go. This design is so pretty with decorative thread. I think all designs are pretty with decorative thread, but I really like this one. Okay. When I come down here, I want to stop about here. Okay. Now I'm going to take my template and I'm going from the center here to the center over here. So I'm going across one of the straight lines. And I can line my template up here so that it's centered. When I come down here, I'm way far away from that. So I might need to go, I'm trying to decide if I want. Okay. Can somebody let me know if you can hear me now? So I am talking. Can you hear me? Oh, yay. Okay. Boy, that was scary. All right. I'm not sure where you lost me. So, yeah, I love those live gremlins. They're really fun. I don't know where I lost you, but let me just review. When we did these designs here, this section that goes across the center, um, the template is like this, right? And we started on one and went around. And then when we got back to the middle, in order for it to look even, I stitched back to center. I didn't need to because my design was complete. And if I was doing it with regular thread, I may not come back down to center. But because it was decorative thread and there's 4 of these things all in here, I wanted to make sure that the center was the same, that there was the same amount of thickness in each one of these sections. Okay, so I'm just looking for questions. And then I have, because that didn't take any time at all, I have like a little bonus thing that I want to show you. Okay. The other thing I want to tell you is I marked this with my stylo pen, which I've now since lost. I don't know what I did with it. Where is it? Let me just see real quick if I can put my hands on it. Ah, here it is. So the marking that I use is a Soul Line Styla, and it comes out, it's a washable. So you can either wash this or they have an eraser where you can get the nub here wet, and you just go like this and it erases the lines and it takes them right out. So I've ironed on top of this before and still had the lines come out. I've done all kinds of practices with this. So I ironed it by mistake once and it still came out. But we have this section down here that I think would be really fun to add something, right? Because it's just kind of blank. So I came up with a design, and what I want to do is mark my center, which is right here. And then I'm just putting a line on the edge because I don't want to go past that. And then I kind of want to do sort of in the middle, but if it's not in the middle, it's going to be fine. And I'm just drawing a straight line. And that is, I'm going to do a line design across here. I'm going to use the larger of the 2 templates. There's lines on these points here. Here and here, there's a line. And I'm going to line that up on my center line. Now, I took my thread out of my foot. If you don't want to do it my way, you could try and get your thread down into the hole of the foot. I'm not very good at doing that. So I want to line this up like that. And I'm going to come in at this far point down here. Here we go. This is like a bonus design. Stacy's not here anymore, so I can get away with it. Come down here. I am that back, lower my foot. Okay. Now, I'm going to leave this tail here and I'm not going to cut it. I'm going to come down this way. And then I'm turning this way. So this time I want my needle to stop on the right side of the thread. Kind of off the center line there. When I get to the center, I'm going to travel to the next line. So this is the 5.5 inch line. I'm traveling to the 7.5 inch line. And then I'm going to make a complete diamond. Last thing I want is some keys to go flying. I had to recently replace my snowflakes because I dropped one on cement and it broke right there. I was devastated. So if you have cement floors, I suggest that you put a rug down. Okay, now I'm going to come up here. And I'm going to take this thread and lay it like that. I'm going to take this, put it there, and that kind of compensate there a little bit, come this way. And then when I come this way, oh, I'm going to show you what I just did. I go across this thread and that helps lock it in. And then I can travel down the same distance we did before. If you needed to add more snowflakes, you would still start in the middle, or you could start on one side, go, you know, do the bottom, then the top, and the bottom, and then come back and do the opposite sides. But normally when I do enclosed designs in a line, I double stitch part of them, but with a decorative thread, you really don't want to do that. And then I'm just going to lock it here, and then I can cut my threads because everything is locked down. This here was locked down at the very beginning, but then also was stitched over. So I can cut that like that. And now you just have a nice little line design. And here, let me back this up a little so you can see what we've done. So again, you would do this design in all 4 quadrants. And then it looks like, let me see if I can show it to you. It looks like this, where they all come and meet in the middle. So that's the design you're going for. And that is how quick and simple it stitches out, even with decorative thread. So let me move this and get the scissors out of the way so you can see it. And I hope people are still here. That is all that I'm going to show you today. I know it was a really short class, but it's really kind of fun. And if someone would just say hi or something so that I know you can still hear me, that would be great. Okay, good. All right. Let me see if you can you see that? There you go. There's the panel. All right, perfect. Sorry about those little hiccups that we had with the sound and the freezing of the video, and I don't know why it just stopped, but it did. So I'm glad you like it. All right, any questions? Does anybody have any questions? I know it is fun. Decorative thread is really fun. It's great for pillows, wall hangings. Anytime you want to add sparkle to anything, it's super fun. So thank you. All right, everybody. That's it for this bonus class. Again, these things were in the Elevate box, the threads. The templates were not. So these are Snowflakes 1 and 2 on the arrow panel. And hopefully I will see you all next week for, I think, Q3 box is revealed next week. Yay, who's excited? I'm excited. The pen that I used is called a Soline Styla. Let me see if you can, I don't know if you can see that. Soline Styla. I like it. It's got a ceramic top on it, a little head, and it's a blue line. This is what I use when I can't see with the chalk. So I either use chalk or I use my Soline. I've also been known to use other markers, but yay, somebody's excited about the new box. Yay. All right, everybody. That's all I have. I know I feel like it was so short, but all right. Take care, everybody. We will see you next week. And I'm sure there's other classes coming up that I don't remember right now. So keep your eyes peeled and we will see you soon. All right. Thanks, everybody.